Awesome. Thank you so much for what a great introduction. I'm really excited to be here today. Yes, I am the designated motivator. That's just my thing. I love my accounting buddies. I love all of you that are here today. I care about your practice. You know, what I'm here to do, Daniel and I are here to help you get your mind ready and get yourself ready and your firm ready for a great upcoming tax season. I know some of you probably will, and you can put it in the question area if you want. It has been painful couple of years, okay? And I know that I've been through it with you. You know, just the pain, I call it kind of like the tornado tax season, torture tax season. But, you know, I wrote this book because I was just super excited about dumping my brain out for you guys. And so what Daniel and I are going to talk about are just a few pieces that are in the book today. For those of you who do book a demo with SmartVault at the end of this, will receive an digital copy of the book as well. So I'm hoping that even if there's one thing in there that you take away and your practice becomes more profitable and more efficient, then I've done my job and it was worth every moment of my time doing it. So excited about that. Daniel, I'm going to let you go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi everybody. My name is Daniel Fritz. I'm the Director of Products over here at SmartVault, located out of Houston, Texas, and I've been doing this for a couple of years. Very excited to help get you guys for a really successful tax season. So
I think we're just gonna have a good time. I know Daniel and I always do. There'll be a lot of energy, I can tell you that. We love to just move you in the right direction. And really what we're trying to do today is that motivation mindset, turn it on. I always tell people to open up your coconut. So this is your coconut on top of your shoulders, and to say, listen, okay, I've been doing things the same way for this many years, or there are certain pain points that I'm just been struggling with. So this is a 1 hour opportunity for you to invest some time in you and invest some time in your firm. And that's the mindset we want to see you have as we go through this today, okay? And for me, SmartVault actually has been my MVP resource and my tool that I've been using for, I think, since the beginning. I've been doing, since SmartVault ever came along.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
It has been, Daniel, has it not?
It absolutely has. It's been at least like what, 10 years, I think, that we've been in your stack.
When I left the firm, we were actually using SmartVault at my old firm. So that's got to be since like 2009, 2010, maybe 2008. So
that's awesome.
Really, our whole goal, Daniel and I today, is to have this conversation and to help you guys figure out where are your players coming from. Your players are your tools and your applications that help you run your practice. And so we want you to keep that in mind today. So really, we know true tax season productivity, it starts before you touch the first return. Now, number one, if you obviously are purchasing tax software, so those of you that are tax professionals, some of you may not be on the call, which is interesting, and I'd love to hear like kind of what do you guys do out there, so that we can kind of get a feel for it. But just want to let you know, just think about this. We've already invested in our tax software. We invest in our applications, and we do that before we even pick up one return. So it's important for us to be thinking ahead to say, okay, I know that it's game time, really. Okay, this is game time, tax season. We're in the tight preseason, almost like preseason football or preseason baseball, where we're right, Daniel. So it's time to think about that. What do you think about that?
So yeah, absolutely. I love your allusion to the preseason, because this is when we are most active at SmartVault. This is when we're migrating people over from other technologies, getting you guys in there and prepping your firm. Because that's one of the greatest things about SmartVault is that we make it so easy to scale. You know, there's no more manual entry. There's permissions are taken care of, invitations. You get a portal that your clients can get into. You can request documents. I'm sure we'll talk about that in a little bit, but it all goes back to saving you guys time. And I know Dawn's going to talk about this a ton, so I'm not going to steal too much of that, but that profit and that ROI is so important. Do more with less. And that's really, really key here.
You know, and I love what John said. John put something in the question area I think is a great point right here as to what you're saying. Publication 1075, okay, well, if you're not familiar with it, you should get familiar with it, but it's Tax Information Security Guidelines for federal, state, and local agencies. John, it's absolutely what we're talking about. We have to make sure that our clients' information is secure. So you need to be able to have a tool that is scalable, like Daniel said, okay, that helps you be more profitable because you're more efficient. and you get a return on that investment, right? And so we know that before we first touch that first return, we've got to do that. Okay. And so one of the other things too that is really important, not just picking a tool that helps you become efficient and help you define your processes, but they've got to be integrated. Now, what I love about SmartVault is that I print my tax returns right to SmartVault. I don't have to print them to a PDF and then upload them or put them somewhere else. If you have Lacerte Pro Series, they are basically connected, which is super awesome, right?
Yeah.
And so
yeah.
Talk about that integration a little bit, Daniel.
Absolutely. So we are the only document storage solution that is connected directly to Lacerte and Pro Series. We have a really close relationship with the guys at Intuit, and so even if it is a new client that you've never worked on before, you can go from having nothing in SmartVault to having all their return printing directly from Lacerte in about 30 seconds. So you print it, it creates the account, creates all the folders, creates the engagement, and has all of that prepped and ready with the right permissions. And that makes it so easy. And really, to Don's point, if you're not integrating, that's time you're losing. That's time that you're using, downloading and then uploading. That is time that you're spending trying to find something, trying to find a document. And that's where we really make it really simplistic for you guys.
So Daniel, there's a couple of good comments in here. So SmartVault does support actually any tax software. And the reason for that is a SmartVault print driver.
That's
right?
correct.
So you want to talk about that, Daniel?
Yeah, absolutely. So whenever you print, the drop-down box, we actually create a new printer in your system. And there's a SmartVault to PDF printer, and you can choose exactly what client that's going to go to. You can create new clients through that. And you can utilize our desktop software to choose directly where it goes. I was working with a client the other day. I see that there's a mention about UltraTax. Who was that? George. Yeah, absolutely. I was working with a guy he was on SmartVault with Lacerte for several years, and now he's trying to transition out his practice, and the person he wants to sell to uses UltraTax. So he has converted to UltraTax, but he still uses SmartVault, and it's super, super easy because you can set document destinations with their print to file, and it'll go directly to this auto file. And all you have to do is just choose, hey, this is that client, and it's going to go in there. And so any tax software that you're using.
Well, and let's take it even a step further, not just tax software. Okay. So if you're using, let's say QuickBooks, you're using Xero, you're using some CCH product, doesn't matter, whatever kind of accounting solution, if you're printing, you want to print reports that you can provide to your client, or you're doing maybe a month-end close and you have all your work papers and all your stuff that you want to print, you can also use the print driver for all those other applications. It may not be that direct connect, same thing.
Absolutely. I'll be honest, I as the director of products, I have, you can imagine, a number of SmartVaults, and I use it in my personal life even. It makes it so easy for me to say, like, hey, that's something that I've got to do for this company, that company. And yeah, absolutely, in my professional realm, I print things into that all the time because I always have the connected desktop ready for me. That's where I keep all of my files. It's super secure, and it's where everything's in the same place, because that's a central document repository. So like, oh, where is that document? There's that question doesn't exist anymore. It's you just go to the client and the documents are there in your designed hierarchy and what we call structure, and that makes it so easy and so predictable. So if you're bringing on somebody new, if you're continuing to scale your practice, that's huge. You say like, oh, this is the workflow, and it's never going to be different. It's going to be the same folders, the same experience every single time.
Yeah, and another really great question or another comment before we get to our first polling question. One of the questions was, what about as far as like seasonal users? What I love about SmartVault is you pay by the month. So if, let's say you brought on, 4 seasonal staff for tax season only, you would only grant them access, let's just say maybe January, February, March, and April. And then when they're done with work, you take them off as a user, which is, great flexibility to allow people to bring people on and take people off, especially in the seasonal world.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you send your 1099s and W-2s to SmartVault? Yes. So you're using CFS, I'm using Tax 1099. We go ahead and we use the print driver. We use the print driver to SmartVault to put those into the permanent storage, which we're going to talk a little bit about some differences between what we think about maybe Lisio, we talk about SmartVault, and how they all can work and play together. So that's important. And we will move on. How about that, Daniel?
Let's do it. I like it. Thank you guys. 1 out of every 5 of you guys on SmartVault. Appreciate that. Appreciate the love. Look forward to keeping you guys happy.
Yeah, and like I said before, SmartVault has been in my starting lineup, and we're going to talk a little bit about what this whole starting lineup thing is. For those of you who have not heard me talk about the starting lineup, it's all a softball reference. I volunteer coach at Eastern Connecticut State University, and actually they taught me that I was a designated motivator. I didn't even know that was a thing, and it really is. But we're going to reference some softball stuff at baseball if you like baseball. So it's important to get your A players warmed up now, your starting lineup, the technology you need to use in order to have that successful, profitable, and efficient tax season, okay? And really, I don't know, if you don't know Daniel or you don't know Rachel, the Rachels, we'll call them, or Dania, or anybody like that that is with SmartVault or Ivy, if you've never talked to them, they are on a mission to make us, the practitioners, productive and happy. And they listen to feedback, which is one of my biggest recommendations to people. When you are choosing your technology, make sure you're selecting technology that is moving forward. If they are not improving their systems and all they're doing really is maintaining their systems, and you know that because they're not coming out with, oh, SmartVault's going to be able to do fetch get documents. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. But the different things that the software can do, and they're always improving and they're listening to people. So you've got to think about that. What do you think, Daniel?
Yeah, absolutely. As I've led products for several years now, and that's the biggest thing that I'm passionate about is making sure that everything comes back to a workflow. And that's when you really see our mission is to make people productive and happy. And that just goes straight into workflow, because with SmartVault, we are looking at adding that functionality. And you mentioned request docs. Thanks for that shout out. That's one of the things that we brought on in between last tax season and today. We added the ability for you just to say, hey, I need these list of documents from you person. You can either customize that list per client, or what I recommend, especially if you're a little bit larger firm, just create a generalized document. We allowed it to where it gives a lot of power to your users and your clients, because they can say, hey, I'm not a gambler. Maybe the gambling winnings don't matter to me. Or W-2, I have multiple W-2s. I switched jobs mid-year and my wife switched jobs, and now I need to add those on. We allowed you to put as many documents onto that as possible, and really makes it smooth to where when you hit submit, John's going to get that notification that says, hey, Fritz over here has completed these things. And now that really saves you a lot of time than either looking through client by client or looking through the email notification list that can get, you guys all know, come early March, late February, all of a sudden that notification email is a mile long and it's not efficient. We really bring it back to where you could say, hey, this is where it is. And so, yeah, getting it started now, getting it solidified. You guys, the other 80% on this call that aren't using SmartVault, you have plenty of time. You guys can get set up with SmartVault today, talk to Ivy, talk to those guys.
Yeah, so Daniel, this is great. And I love to, we have slides and slides are great, but I really love to have the interaction with the audience, that they're asking questions. We want to answer them as we kind of go, because it's relevant to what we're talking about. But there were two, actually. One of them was the fetch documents from the clients, to get the documents from the clients. That's just in SmartVault. You just have to be in the right view to do that. Is that right, Daniel?
Yes, there is. If you're on an older tax prep plan, you may not have it. But if you're on any of our accounting products that we've had starting in like 2014, 2015, that's going to be in there. So if you're on Accounting Pro, you can definitely reach out to our support team. They'll help guide you. But yes, it is only available in that new view that we're looking for. It's along that left side. You can't miss. It's got the big square new next to it. So check that out. And honestly, our onshore support team that's based here in Houston, they are stellar. They want to help you guys be successful. So you're ready to go.
That's awesome. And then one other person, before I get into this whole concept of the starting lineup, which is just really exciting, is to think about, as far as those of you who maybe have eons of file cabinets, maybe you don't have online document storage at this point, or a portal for your clients, or whatever the case may be. So my is there any training? Absolutely. The support staff at SmartVault help you 100%, right? And I would just want to say from a mindset perspective, if you're one of those people, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
The best thing is that you're making a decision to do something different. And I think that that's more impressive than anything, FYI, for the person who asked the question, okay? And what I always say is, you know what? Start somewhere. So either you say, you know what, we're going to start with 2021, we're going to start uploading documents. I recommend if you are near a local university, there are accounting students who need internships. There's accounting students who might want a little part-time job that could come in. You set up, and SmartVault does a great job of training you on a folder structure and all that kind of stuff, but don't get yourself so overwhelmed that you're like, oh my goodness, I have all of this. It's nope. We're gonna compartmentalize. We're gonna do one thing at a time to get started, right? Right, Daniel?
Yeah, you just want to get started. You want to dip your toes in there and see and understand, even if you're just jumping in there and starting with a small portion. And yeah, I really love the shout out to the interns and stuff like that. You've got some really tech savvy people at these universities that'll pick this up really fast. I know there was a couple questions in there about that training. Like we can provide like a one-on-one type training to you and your staff. Let me put it to you this way. Those sessions are about an hour long. SmartVault does not take a lot of training. It's really simplistic. And if you are used to saying like, oh, I know exactly where that file is in the back, rotating file cabinets, you're going to love the fact that you can stay exactly where you're at and just type in their name and just pull up every single document that you have. And all you have to do at that point, just scan things in. We have a lot of integrations, talking about our integrations from earlier with like Fujitsu scanners and things like that. Really make it easy to transition.
Yeah, absolutely. And then somebody else did make a mention, I'll make it real quick, but if you are a sole practitioner, you can subscribe for one user. There's no minimum. If it's just you, you're the only one who's going to be doing it, you sign up and you get yourself, in there and get started, ready to go. So we're going to move on here a little bit to a winning tax season requires A players in your starting lineup, meaning the best players. When I, as a coach, as a softball coach, we want to put the best players on the field that day who are ready to go, who have, were prepared for preseason and actually can do the job at whatever position they're playing. Okay. And so this is my starting lineup. It doesn't mean it has to be yours, but what I love about this slide is that you can print this slide out. You can cross out all of my stuff and fill yours in. But the one thing we do know about baseball and softball is if you don't have a first baseman, you aren't going to win the game because there's going to be nobody there to catch the ball. I mean, it seems really simple, right? Same. Now, SmartVault's our catcher. We say that because they're the document catcher. That's why we like to make them the catcher. SmartVault's catching and capturing all the documents that we need to securely store for our clients or obtain from them. So in your practice, you have to have practice management, client management, document storage, some automated bookkeeping tools, bookkeepers. Oh my goodness, I found that at Scaling New Heights has absolutely transformed us not having to enter anything from PayPal or Square or there's a whole bunch of apps and you can check them out. But having payroll processing, all of these positions on this starting lineup are required to run an efficient and profitable tax firm. Now you can agree, disagree, doesn't matter. It's totally cool. Maybe you and your firm only have 9 positions and those are your critical positions, but you've got to have the right technology filling in those slots that keep you productive. I'm going to give you some examples. With SmartVault, all my power of attorneys, I know exactly where every power of attorney is in SmartVault for all of my clients. I know that 100%. With using Canopy, I'd love to be able to go pull a transcript so I can see what estimated payments were made for certain clients, different things like that. So the way you're running your firm, I do quoting through Quotient currently. Soon to come, there'll be a change in who we use for quoting, but for now, that's what we use. Really exciting stuff. But just having that process, and we've started, I sent out all my quotes over the weekend. They're all out there. What I love about it is I know how much potential there is to make during tax season this year. We're at about 200,000. We're not a big firm where there's 3 of us that work here, but we're doing, $200,000 worth of tax returns. That number will grow. We get referrals pretty often, but being able to just say, hey, accept my engagement, accept the price. I increased all of my prices this year. I've had no one reject my quote yet. So I encourage you also to do that. I love to give kind of like little nuggets as to what your what you're doing as far as that goes. So the whole concept of the starting lineup, I guess what I want to make sure you understand, you have to have these positions filled by a really awesome A player technology solution, and it has to be able to work for you. Daniel, what do you think?
Yeah, absolutely, Don. As I look at this list and everything, we integrate with Lisio, we integrate with QuickBooks, we integrate with the QBO, whether you're using QuickBooks Desktop or QBO. I know that you and I have talked about having backups of every single QBO that you're saving within SmartVault, and that's really, really key. And yeah, all these other things are going to make it to where you're the most efficient thing. Even in my world, in the development world, so we don't use SmartVault to develop SmartVault. We utilize a really key concert of a lot of different tools. So for some examples there, internally we use Slack, which integrates great with Jira, which is a product development organizational tool. I use AHA to manage our roadmaps, and all of that stuff is intertwined together. And so whether you're a tax professional or not, I'm being in the technology realm, having a starting lineup of technology and processes that you use is truly that home run that you're describing. So I totally agree. Print this slide out, put it in there. And yeah, I'm going to be a little bit partial here. Hey, SmartVault, being that catcher, being the central document repository for everything about your business. So even Don's keeping her personal stuff in there. I have a personal SmartVault account that came in super handy. This last week, I needed my passport number and I just wasn't near it. And I was able to pull it directly up in my personal SmartVault, and there it was. It took me 2 seconds, and my passport was with my wife, like on the complete other side of the airport. So when I look at those things, no matter what you're doing and how you're doing, especially when we talk about this, make sure you have that lineup, because it's so key.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So I wanted to show you, because some people ask, how does everything integrate? Well, I've made this awesome graphic. I think it's pretty cool. But
I like it.
For tax prep, the colors, it's just so pretty. I just kind of want to stare at it. But it just describes how things are integrating and working. And when I say with SmartVault too, just to keep in mind, what's great about it is even if it doesn't directly integrate with your tax software, it has the solution with the driver and allows you to use it just like you would use a Lacerte user would use it. So it has that secure driver that you're going to work with. So this is kind of how things integrate. I know somebody had mentioned something about integration with Lisio. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, Daniel?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the ways that we work with Lisio is that they can directly put information into SmartVault. So if you're utilizing their management organization and their tax management technology, they're able to send requests via those text messages and all of the great client communications. And the thing is that that's what they're really good at. But when I met up with Chris and Sakar over there at Liscio, they said, look, we don't want to be a document storage solution. We want you guys to do that. And we want to do all these really cool communication things. And I said, man, that's perfect, because we want to be the most secure, the most reliable, the most scalable document storage for any size firm that we work with. And so that's what we do. They can put those in there. And when you are sending to get signature, whether you use DocuSign with us, as you can see on this graphic, or with Lisio, they use Adobe Sign. Whatever works in that lineup for you guys is going to be what works best for you. And SmartVault can truly be that central document repository that supplies that document everywhere. So with Lisio, you get to the point where you have a return ready to go. You just go into Lisio and pull directly from SmartVault that. And so it's not going down to your local machine, which is unsecure, as we all know, all the frightening things around cybersecurity and all of that. It's going from Lisio directly to SmartVault in both directions, which makes it key in the workflow.
Yeah, absolutely. And I knew you were going to do a little bit of a demo.
Yeah.
We talked about that. Do we want to do that now, or are we going to do that a little bit later?
We can absolutely jump into it now. I can kind of talk through some of those couple of pieces. I'm ready.
Yeah, I think people really want to see that. So sharing, I guess I will stop sharing my screen.
I will steal the show here.
Steal it, Dan. That's awesome.
There we go. I've got it. All right. You can see right here is that request box that we've been talking so much about. I'm on a 2020 version of Accounting Pro. I can see that right down here. And some of the cool things that you can do with SmartVault, beyond everything that you see there, we have the SmartVault inbox, the drive. If you're on a Mac, especially, the SmartVault drive makes it really easy to get that information over. I'm going to utilize the connected desktop here in just a second with my version of Lacerte 2020. And we have all of these different areas. We have an Outlook plugin where you can sync your emails directly in, which is really, really cool. But before I show any of that, let's start really where it would start. If you have an ongoing client or an existing client or a new client, you can either add them in Lacerte, print them over, or just add them here. And then I'm just going to go ahead and go for request docs. And so let's do Mac Jones. How about that, Don? Here we go. And
yeah, Mac Jones. That's what I'm talking about.
All right. So you can see
Mac
here, I have this
stuff.
So I've got this individual template here. Now you'll notice that I've got a couple of required documents there and lots of not required ones. I can control this, and this takes 2 seconds, guys, to augment. I go into my view templates. Here's my individual one. Let me edit that, and guess what? Let's make these 2 required. I can save those changes. Takes me 10 seconds, come right back over to request docs. And in this case, when I go and find my Mac Jones here, I can send multiple if I wanted to here. Excuse me. So you can see all of the different ones. If I wanted to send one to the SAT-offs, Liz, etc., I have the capability of doing that. Oh, wrong button there. Sorry about that, guys. All right. I'm going to choose again that individual template. Now you can see, took me 5 seconds. That thing is required. It's going to be for a tax engagement. Since I'm going to do 2020 through Lacerte, I'm going to show you guys that it'll actually create these folders here. I'm going to use 2021 in this case. You can provide some instructions here. I like to put that in caps so that you guys can see it. And then I'm going to go ahead and send the request. So a couple things happened there. I had not actually created a tax engagement for Mac Jones yet. And you can see that because over here, oh, it's already there. It has already been created right there, TY21 in my connected desktop. I was too slow for my own software, but that's totally okay.
That's totally okay.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up. I'm now logged in as Mac Jones. I know it's a little small, but you guys got to trust me on that one. You'll see up here, quickly upload your documents. I'm going to refresh this screen. And what you'll notice in the center of that screen, they upload documents. There's now going to be a requested documents button. And that is key because it's right here on the thing. And oh, by the way, guys, this will scale with the size of your screen, AKA if you're looking at this on a phone, you're going to be able to request these documents and they're going to be able to see that and support it on their phone. So here you see big caps instructions, able to look in here and see exactly what's required. So, hey, here's my W-2. I mentioned this a little earlier, say, hey, I'm not a gambler. Here's the W-2G. This one's required because I just made it required, but I can say, hey, that doesn't apply to me. And that gives the power to your clients to get through this. They can add comments. It's really simplistic. It's a simple drag and drop. I've got a couple of testing tax files here that I'm going to pull over just from my other screen. Got a 1099. I've got a couple other things. And so you can see these are loading in. Now, the nice thing is as, looks like I grabbed that one twice. That's okay. You'll notice the submit button's not ready to go. I can't click it. There's nothing I can do there. However, from Don's side, from you guys as the firm user, I can go ahead and review this in real time and see that these documents have been loaded. So if I wanted to look at this transcript, I can immediately look in here and see exactly, hey, this is exactly right. That's what I'm looking for.
Absolutely.
So same principle there. Now let's talk a little bit about Lacerte. So I've talked and showed, hey, let's get that document in. You've requested documents, everything's ready to go. You've verified everything. You've marked it as complete and say, all right, I'm ready to do my taxes. You do your taxes and you come up here and you print. This is what Don's talking about, guys.
So cool, you guys, like freaks me out.
It's right here. It is not a choice as far as like, oh, I'm choosing a printer in that case. This is, we have a relationship and a true integration in there for us to print these. I'm just going to print the government copy and the client copy here. So obviously I'm going to have some errors in my Lacerte here. So don't be surprised if you see some bypassing here. Sorry about that. But what's really critical here is that you guys noticed a second ago, I only had that TY21 right here. I'm using 2020 in Lacerte. So I already have Mac Jones. I have my client ID that I created. I had this one because it was the one that I had the request docs creation. But now, let me make sure that I'm fully bypassed over there, Don.
Yeah, get bypassed over.
There we gotta bypass it. And as we look at that, and we get to this point and say, all right, I'm gonna refresh this. Now, I now have the TY20. And what do you guys notice if I kind of pull these in here? These are exactly the same. The only added one is gonna be that request docs because I have the request docs for the 21. But you see, this is what we're talking about, structure. So when I go to Mac Jones, or if I go to my wife, and if she has taxes, guys, look at this. It's going to look exactly the same every single time. The structure is there. You're bringing on new staff. It's super, super easy to make sure that you have all the stuff going in the right documents. Now let's go back over here to Mac. Now in Mac, you'll notice these went straight into the client tax return right here. And that's by design. We tag that. We tag it so that these documents go into the right folder. You are in control. You can rename this. We have client organizer, client source documents. You can just say, change that to upload your documents here. So yeah, absolutely. I've got Mac Jones here. Like we mentioned, Dawn probably printed this from Quotient, get everything down in there. Now she's got her 8879 ready to go. You can go right in here, opening up this document. I can see it in real time. And oh, it pulled over here, sorry. So there's my 8879. Now what I can do, say that again?
That was a lot of money.
That was a lot of money. I saw that today. And one of the cool things that we have is we have the Get e-signature right here. We are completely integrated in with DocuSign. To be honest, I'm not 100% sure, Don. That's the one thing I didn't check here. I don't know if we're actually integrated. Yep, yeah, I didn't figure we were, but that's okay. It's really simplistic. Go for it.
I'll just give a quick explanation. So basically, by going through that dashboard, the connected desktop, and hitting the Get signature, it'll open up. You have to pay for them, right? So it opens up DocuSign, and you can then drop the signature, and it's knowledge-based authentication, so it's 100% legit, okay? And so we go ahead and we send the DocuSign, the 8879 through DocuSign. But what's magical about that is once they sign it, it goes directly back into that same folder. You never have to touch it twice. And that's what I love about it. I don't want to have to touch it twice. So that's kind of the workflow that we use here at Powerful Accounting. And I'm literally just clicking, guys. I'm clicking and I'm getting it done and I'm moving on. I'm not ruffling papers all around or anything. This is all done securely right through SmartVault.
Yeah, and there a question came across about organizers. If you are in Lacerte or Pro Series, you can go to View, Generate Organizers, and you can still choose to print a SmartVault. That's why you see this client organizer file here, and you can print all of those directly. And we actually have bulk send information as well. And just a really quick, we integrate solely with DocuSign. Lisio does integrate with Adobe Sign, so it really depends on like where it fits in your workflow. If you would rather it be on that side, that's totally fine. I want to make sure I'm in this to make sure you guys have the right tools to be successful, and that's what's
right. Absolutely. Okay, so do we want to go back to the deck? Let's go back to the deck.
Yes. All right. You are now the presenter again, Don. It's all you.
I love the control. I really do. Okay. So we got these things called practice plays, okay? And practice plays are fun because everybody should have practice plays, right? So the first practice play, and this is great workflow information. This isn't only about SmartVault. This is other applications that you could be utilizing to improve your processes, be more efficient. I'm using, like I said, Quotient. I'm going to be switching that for next tax season because there's a new app coming out that I'm super pumped about. I can't tell you anything else other than that. So Quotient, we go ahead and we create our quotes, which are also our engagement letter. So I want you to keep that in mind. So we send our quotes out. The people all accept it, that they're accepting the engagement and the price right at that time. Now, if obviously I do all mine by the form, I don't know if that's obvious. All of my tax returns are prepared and charged by the form. And so if there's additional forms, Tracy watches out for that because what happens is when we go to create our invoice in Lacerte, it should match the quote. If Lacerte says, no, you had a couple of extra forms, so the price isn't 1,000, it's 1,500, she'll notify the client, hey, updated quote, you had more work to do, we're gonna charge you more. And then once they accept it, we push it into QBO, which I love desktop, you guys, I get it. I'm using QBO because it does integrate with everything. And so we push those in, and then we also print the quote to SmartVault. So no, does Quotient integrate directly with SmartVault? No, but we use the print functionality with the print driver from Quotient to SmartVault. So the client has that as a permanent document, permanent storage in SmartVault for them. It's awesome. Then we have Liscio, who passes the ball to SmartVault. So here's another piece of our practice plays. Reducing that chaos, having that secure and centralized document. So Liscio may be grabbing documents from people. This is something, Daniel, I want you to talk a little bit more about because you and Chris have been really working on this. The chasing of the documents is torture. So
yes.
So go, why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so when we think about Lisio, it is the best client communication tool out there, and I know you use it. I know I would, if I was a accounting professional, that's what I would go down with. But it's, for us, when me and Chris met, it's all about making it easier on you guys. So you can use the request docs. We're going to be adding it to where that request docs link is going to go directly into Lisio. I saw that working last week in our staging environment, so I'm very excited about that. And that's where it handles the ball. It handles that communication, gets those back in there, and especially those one-off requests at the very end, like, oh crap, we missed this. Oh goodness, we don't have that file. Send it in Lisio. Get that really quick and just download it down directly into SmartVault, because there is a way to go directly from Lisio into SmartVault. I know that was one of the questions that had come up a little earlier. And so you don't have to chase documents. You're just texting somebody and say, I need this document in order to complete your stuff. It is an open task. Utilizing Lisio in that fashion makes it so much easier. All the communication is held within there. And especially if you're going to do it at the very beginning, use SmartVault and send a template that applies to 95% of your clients. Save yourself the time and effort. Send that out and just in the message, just say, hey, there's a little slidey bar at the top right that says, if it doesn't apply, say it doesn't apply, and just move on and just don't get stuck. That way you're providing documents going straight into SmartVault, and then if you're chasing, use it there. Whatever works best with your workflow.
So, okay, now let's take a look. Go ahead, Daniel. Share your screen.
Which screen can you see at this point?
I see your folder structure. So you want to pull up the Lacerte screen would be good.
All right, give me 1 second here.
Yep. This is really cool. There's what I love about it.
So sorry, there we go. All right, I'm in Lacerte.
So here we go, guys. We need to send the 8879, like we were saying, through the connected that desktop where we can send it through DocuSign. So go ahead to Forms, Daniel. You're going to go to Forms. Yeah, we're in Forms, and we're going to literally just click on the 8879. So you're just going to select that. And yep. So yeah.
Hold on.
Uncheck the box there, buddy, too. You could do that, and then you don't have all that other garbage.
Oh,
whatever.
Very nice. There we go. Gotcha.
Oh, that's it, but those of you who didn't know that. All right, so now we're going to go over to the right where we hit print form. And it's going to say this page only. Now, if you hit settings real quick, uncheck file and click SmartVault. Uncheck, go to the right, bang, hit OK. Then we're going to hit OK again. That's going to print it right to their folder, where you can go and then go ahead and send it through that connected desktop. So it's phenomenal. So that's just how to print. Now, also, if you want to, go ahead. If you want to show them where it showed up and landed, there it is.
Right there in tax returns.
Done. Go back to Lacerte for me, Daniel. I love bossing Daniel around. This is really fun.
This is perfect. I love this. I feel like I'm getting a crash course in accounting right here.
It's fun. So if you're dealing with partnerships or S corps and you need K1s printed, so Dan, if you want to shoot over to a partnership, I don't know if you have one set up or not.
I don't know if I have a partnership set up. I don't think so.
Upper left there, upper left where it says client, and then you're going to go to tax type. Yep, you don't have any. That's okay.
That's
if
all
you
right.
do the same way we just printed the tax return to SmartVault, you notice when you're at the print screen, there will be a K1 button at the top of the screen. You click that, and then you won't be able to see it, Daniel, because there's not a partnership here. But you're just clicking, and like I have one client that has 100 partnerships. It puts all 100 K1s right into their folders, named and everything, masked, social security numbers, all of that, so that the client can send out their K1 packets. And I think that's, again, such a really great tool to print all at one time. Okay, so I'm going to take the screen back so you can unshare, and I will show my screen and we'll get through these slides. I hope that you guys are learning some good tips, because we could sit here and just read slides for you, but I find that really just giving you guys really solid information is what you're looking for. Yeah. So then again, we talked a little bit about this, SmartVault, Lisio, Karbon, into a practice management. All of those, they integrate as well. We're not going to get too much into detail because we don't have time for it, but Karbon's another tool we've used in the past. Karbon, driving client data to SmartVault. And so we have the ability to link folders in Karbon and do different things like that. Like I said, we don't have a lot of time to do all of them, but it's just most important to know that having SmartVault be able to work within other applications like Karbon, like Lisio, like QuickBooks Online, QuickBooks Desktop, where we're storing receipts and things like that. We've got to have that. So another practice play is just having your document storage working with your project practice management tool and workflow. Okay. Lacerte plays perfectly with SmartVault and DocuSign. Lacerte also works with Karbon. It also works with Intuit Practice Management. Some other just, FYI, food for thought. Okay. So we've showed you the Lacerte SmartVault DocuSign integration, which I think really works smooth, works really well. And it's just so simple for us to be able to manage that workflow in this. And this is how it works, Lacerte to SmartVault to DocuSign. So it's really awesome. So Ernest asked, is there an automated way to print all the e-file forms out of Lacerte? So I'm not exactly sure, Ernest, if you can get a little more detail in there, because I'd like to answer that so we can just make sure that we get your question answered there.
Yeah, because I think this is what really people are interested in, Don. So how much, using SmartVault and the rest of your lineup, the Lisio, Karbon and such, how much do you save? How much money do you make by doing that?
Yeah, so literally thinking about that workflow of doing a tax return, pushing it to SmartVault, pushing it to DocuSign. We seriously don't print more than 10 tax returns a year now. Our clients are all happy to get them through SmartVault. If they need to print them, they print them themselves. I do charge $100 to print them. I'm like, you know what? I understand there's elderly people who don't have printers and things like that, but for the most part, we just haven't see a need for printing tax returns. We, based on our billable hours and the amount of time on average, was about 135 hours of total time with the volume of clients that we have, the amount of work that we do. If you look at billable time, we're saving about $30,000. That factors in administrative time for Tracy, administrative time for Kyle, who's really the one that puts together my tax returns, and handles all the documents, because he's able to scan things for those that mail things. The cost savings, 30 grand is a lot of money, guys. And you know what I also have the ability to do? I have the ability to go to coach softball during tax season because we are that efficient. And I think it's just really a really big testimony, being able to have that type of savings during such a short critical time. Although here, somebody said earlier, it's been a 2-year tax season, and they're right about that. And so, we can use, this great example and a great question. We can use SmartVault to send a copy of a tax return. Say a client says, hey, this is my banker, we're refinancing, and you send the tax return to.
I just answered that on chat. Like, as you're describing that, you were faster.
You can absolutely, you have unlimited client access. We just would add that person to SmartVault, give them access just to that one document. You can do that. And send it off to the banker. Done. Safe, secure. It's in that SmartVault portal, and we're really
and it's not going off into the ether. That's the fear so much of today. Even when I was on vacation, you have to be diligent all the time now. I got a text message that says, "Hey, this is my boss, Dania," and so I looked at that and I said, my immediate response, I was relaxing. I wasn't in work mode, but I have to be so diligent at all times. And this is where SmartVault can really prevent that. It's like, hey, I'm not going to send you documents over email. I'm not going to be sending you random text messages. You're going to go through Lisio and communicate with me. You're going to log into SmartVault and get that information that's keeping you and your practice safe.
Absolutely, absolutely. And somebody mentioned about remote workers. I'll tell you what, right now I have remote workers. So we already did that question. We have remote workers. So it's awesome to be able to have one central document destination for everyone wherever they may be. Or if I'm in Florida for softball and I need to maybe do a tax return while I'm down there or something, it's safe and secure. I'm able to access those documents and be able to prepare a tax return no matter where I am. And I think that that's one of the most exciting pieces of it. Just having that work optimization, the return on investment of being able to access documents from anywhere. I was on the beach one day and somebody asked me what their AGI was. They were filling some form out. I pulled it right up on my phone. It didn't stop them. They were able to move on. I was able to answer them quickly and just keep that going. So it wasn't like I had to get back to the office and answer 80,000 text messages or emails. So I think that that's a big plus. Makes you more profitable, and for sure. So one of the things that wanted to mention before I launch this last polling question. So you'll get an ebook for everybody that attended here today. So thank you so much for coming. That's awesome. We appreciate that. I also have like my price list and some disengagement letters, like if you're firing a client or you've got a new client, some free resources that I love to just offer out. Most people don't like to share their price list. I don't care. If you text to number 55444 and you text Team Brolin, all one word, you'll get access to the price list and things like that. We want to give you, and I put some free resources up there as I think that they're, you know, good for people to take a look at. So I'm really excited to be able to offer that to you. So feel free to take advantage of that for sure. But today, if you schedule a demo with SmartVault, you will get a copy of the ebook, The Designated Motivator for Accounting Professionals, where all of this information is definitely much more spelled out. Obviously, it's a book, right? So we want to offer that out to all of you. Oh, I'm going to go ahead and launch that last polling question. But Daniel, anything you want to add to that?
No, honestly, you summed it up really good there, Don. You know, we're here to help support you guys. We want to be a partner with your firm, and we're really excited for all of your potential successes for everybody on this call. So we'd love to have you as part of the SmartVault family. And
yes, really appreciate it. And I hope that like you guys all took something away, and I really hope you came into this open-minded.
Thanks, everybody.
Well, thank you all for joining. We do have one other poll question that we want to put out for you, and this is in regards to whether you would like to get a custom demo with SmartVault. And in addition, if you would like to have access to the information that Dawn mentioned there at the end of the presentation, just put a note in the chat or in the Q&A. Just say, you can put in the chat, I would like Dawn's information, copy of Dawn's book, and we will forward that, have that information sent over to you as soon as we can. Probably take a couple of days, but if you just put that in the chat, we'll get that information to you as well. And again, just complete this, the poll that is showing, and we will wrap this up. And I certainly want to thank everyone for participating. Thank you for spending an hour with us, and I'd like to encourage you to visit insightfulaccountant.com for future events and just other news and information that we're publishing on a regular basis. And again, I want to say thank you to SmartVault for this content. Thank you all. Have a wonderful week.